All right, everyone. How are we? How are we? um, good evening. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. As you all know, normally around about this time, um, we are doing Geoscope, of course, with Graham, of course, being away on his island. Um, I figured I would sort of continue this because I think it's good to continue something, or at least keep me in um keep me going, shall we say. Because it's good to do something regular. And to be honest, I think I've said this before, I really do not stream enough on this channel. I really should stream a lot more. So um maybe, like I say, next year, that can be my New Year's resolution, to sort of stream a lot more for you guys and talk about stuff. But as we say, Graham's away. Um, so until Graham returns, I will be doing. I'm not sure what to call it, to be honest, because I'd thought um, SoloScope was one of the choices I came up with to record this one. Um, what were the other ones I came up with? Now, hold on a second. I had um, I had some names. I can't remember them now. Luckily, I wrote them down. So I had. We've gone with SoloScope for this time around. I'd gone with GeoLens, just for the GeoLensiness stuff on this. I'd gone for also potentially global angle, you know, a fresh angle on global topics. I nearly called it. I was either going to go with put my name in it, maybe go like OllyScope or BolaScope, which maybe could have been an interesting one, maybe at that point. Or or Scope Solo. Give it a bit of the Star Wars twist on that. But yes, here we are. Here we are. Like I say, for the first on all this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of doing this and sort of getting back into the sort of the swing of things. But yeah, no, it'll be fun. But anyway, greetings everyone, of course, in the chat. Billy Kershaw, good evening to you. Haython Puds, good evening to you. Duke Vengeance, good evening to you. Billy, good evening to you. Dave W, evening to you. Blue Badger 88, good evening to you. Dave Walker, hello to you. Like I say, hello to everyone else watching us. Like I say, please do click on the like and share button. Because we're going to talk about some geopolitics. And ultimately, we can talk about something that has just happened recently in the past 24 hours. And that is Joe Biden finally giving Ukraine permission. He can finally get, ATACMS long-range ATACMS can now be used for strikes inside Russia. This is something that Zelensky has been asking for months now. Months. And finally, Biden has given it, and almost immediately, bear in mind, immediately they have used long-range missiles to strike a artillery dump or an ammo dump, shall we say, deep within Russia. Now, the Russians say they've shot all these missiles down, but it's strange because you can go on Twitter or on Facebook, you can look up basically this facility in absolute flames. Oh yeah, don't worry, we shot all the missiles down, Russia will say. Then yeah, why is the facility in absolute flames? Oh, so yeah, that was certainly one interesting thing. However, of course, it is also worth bringing up that, remember, Putin has said, well, if you do this, there's going to be consequences. Ooh. Well, remember, there were meant to be consequences for supplying Western weapons, Leopards, fighter planes, missiles in the first place for a whole range of things. And we have crossed multiple red lines of Putin through all of this, and yet no nukes. But honestly, the MAGA people today, oh my word, the MAGA people have been screaming out, oh my God, World War III, World War III, World War III. Has World War III happened? No. Because the last thing Putin wants is to actually engage NATO. I think we've seen probably what would happen to the Russian army if it were to actually properly fight a a true NATO ready country. Probably Poland, let's face it. And bear in mind, Poland, we'll be getting onto something interesting about Poland later, but trust me, if they even touched Poland, Poland has been ready to go for like the past couple of years. They bought a load of what they called now the HIMARS rocket systems, and they have surrounded Kaliningrad on their side of the border with them. Like they are ready. They are ready to rock and roll on this. Duke Vengeance, yeah. Thanks, Biden. A bit late, exactly. A bit late indeed. There's obviously the big worrying about this, and I think this does lead into again the topics of European strategic autonomy. On this is what happens when Donald Trump gets in. Because remember what happens if Trump were to get in, you know? Would he rescind this order? Would he stop it? But remember, Donald Trump still has that order, or been saying this since the beginning. If I do this, if I get in office, this war will be over in 24 hours. So far, this war is not over. But if he means from the inauguration, which is the 20th of January, I think it is, that means he pretty much has until what, the 21st, and maybe the morning of the 22nd to end this war. Will he? I doubt it. But unfortunately, we live in a world where we're going to have to find out what that is. And I think, unfortunately, we could find out very quickly what that is. But according to what we've seen of many of Trump's allies, it is the complete and utter throwing under the bus of Ukraine. And this is something we should expect because Donald Trump did this during his first term in office. Like, this is what he did in his first term of office. He threw US allies in Syria under the bus. So we can only really expect more of the same. We can only expect more of the same to happen. And it's it's worrying. It's really worrying because this is going to have big implications down the line. Because it's still, bear in mind, we found out from Olaf Scholz when he had his call with Putin earlier also this week, Putin's demands are still the same. Give me all of these territories that I'm claiming. So that's all of Donetsk, all of Luhansk, all of Zaporizhia, and Kherson as well. Those are still huge sways of land to lose, and a whole series of towns and cities that still have not been captured yet. In these, in this advance that the Russians have very slowly been advancing on. Bear in mind, I found out today, I think it was Dylan Burns, I think, who mentioned it in one of his videos. They have been advancing at a very slow rate of at least 0.08%. And they've been losing at least, I think, almost close to a battalion level of troops for that. These exchanges for land that they are trying to buy definitely are not worth it. Yes, they are still losing men in a huge, colossal rate at this point in Russia. How they can continue on this, I don't know. So we'll see. Still friend, his defense secretary is an absolute anti-Russia guy, though. At the end of the day, he takes his orders from Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump is the commander in chief. When it comes to the American military, he is what says will happen. The other big problem, of course, is Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, incredibly pro-Russia, more pro-Russia than, you know, she is pro-America. You'd think maybe that'd be a problem. Hopefully she doesn't come out of a hearing unscarred. Hopefully she maybe doesn't get chosen. You know, we can hope, of course, but I doubt it. This is going to cause a big problem because she becomes head of the US intelligence service, and that is like the kingpin almost in many ways of the Western information sphere. How do you think this person, being incredibly pro-Putin, is she going to become a massive leak? Is she going to start leaking stuff? Is she going to stop giving information to Ukraine? Is she going to start denying stuff? I don't think Trump would care. Now, it's very worrying. Yeah, I don't know what other way to say it, but you know, it's worrying. But I think at this point, we really should look at, I think, what a human cost of this, because I think it is very, very important to highlight that there has been a real human cost to it. And I think I want to highlight this guy, because this guy posted this on, there you go, on Twitter. This is a Ukrainian soldier who posted about this, because obviously today it's the day 1000 of this war. And I think it's worth going through this because it just sort of highlights some of the stuff that has gone on, the human personal fact that has sometimes gone unnoticed during this war that doesn't get brought up. So, day 1000, and my life has changed drastically since day one. Everyone said that Ukraine will fall in 3 days. Not a single person believed in us. We fought fiercely back in 2022 against all the odds, and we won the Battle of Kyiv. My thoughts on the first 1,000 days as a soldier of the Ukrainian army now. So my life has changed from now a peaceful life of an IT guy earning a fortune, traveling the world and enjoying a life with my girlfriend, to now a soldier wearing a uniform. I gave everything now to protect my dear ones in Ukraine and to protect the greatest value of my life, freedom. That is something else that many people, I think, still do not understand about this. Remember, in the lead up to this, there was the Orange Revolution that they had, the Revolution of Dignity, I think it was, and the Euromaidan. All three of these big events pretty much happened within the last 10, 15 years or so. And really, you know, maybe they all had different themes, but one of the things that did cut through was the Ukrainian people were saying, we want our freedom. You know, we want our freedom to be able to choose the direction we want to be able to go in. And that is something we in the West, and it is important as to why we should be supporting Ukraine, to ensure that people do have that right, so that Ukraine can go forward as a sovereign country to get to make the decisions it wants to make. If it wants to be part of NATO, then it is Ukraine's decision if it wants to be part of NATO. If it wants to be part of the EU, then it's Ukraine's decision whether it wants to be part of the EU, not Russia. And that is what many of these people are fighting for, so that they have that freedom for the future. That is something that we should not forget in this. Still to this day, I think many, many commentators you see forget that personal element that went into this, that what these people are really sort of fighting for. So I also grew as a person these last sort of 1,000 days. Tears, death, wounds, sacrifice, faith, and love. It was a very tough transformation in the time of challenges, but completely worth it. I became responsible for my own actions, my family, my nation, and our own planet Earth. No one believed in Ukraine. In 2022, Ukraine was given just 3 days to live at max. It was far too small, too weak, and defending against now the unbeatable Russia. All those world-class analysis did not account for Ukrainian courage, unity, and the unbreakable spirit. We aspire to be free, and we will be. But ordinary people, of course, started helping once that they figured the Ukrainians will hold onto their freedom and its most sacred value that they have in life. This inspired millions around the world. It was a turning point in the world. People figured Ukraine deserves the right to self-defense. People started sending drones, generators, food trucks, tactical gear, medicines. Government sent weapons so we can defend ourselves with big guns. Freedom must be well armed to defend itself. Again, I think that is very well said there. You know, freedom must be well armed to defend itself. I don't think we can disagree with that. I think that is very, very true. To support a fight for freedom, not just, of course, backing Ukraine's sovereignty, you're championing freedom, justice, and humanity. Ukraine is where liberty now faces tyranny, the courage to confront the oppression. Thanks to our united strength, Ukraine holds. I salute you. And then he goes on to talk about sort of some other stuff here. So yeah, the Ukrainian story is very life-affirming. In these times of extreme challenges, everything now depends on us. I have learned a lot from this war. Ordinary people will shape the way this world functions. We shape, of course, our own history. As a Ukrainian soldier, I do feel very impactful. Let us not be stopped. We have 1,000 days, 11 years, and countless battles behind us. I do not care how much more is in front of us. I am in it for the victory of freedom. I wish us courage, dedication, and wisdom. And then here where he goes on to say, if you want to donate or make a donations, the sort of soldiers on the ground, he does so. But yeah, I do think that is very well worth remembering on that. Very, very, very well worth remembering on that. Oh, we've had our first super chat. Thank you very much, David Falconer. Still not with you, of course, on Foreign Affairs, BHM, but always love you on British Matters. It's 3 a.m. here in Asia, so have a super chat. I'll watch and catch it. Well, thank you very much, David. Thank you very much. And like I say, you don't have to agree with me. That's fine. You know, I don't force anyone to agree with me. Like I say, if you don't agree with me, don't watch me. You know. But thank you very much, David. Thank you very much as always. I know you've been a big supporter of the channel for quite some time. So yeah, thank you very much for your support on that. And like I say, if you would like to help support the channel, hit the like, hit the share button, links down below, etc. You know the drill by now. So thank you very much for everyone who does help and support the channel on this. However, it is worth pointing out that there has been, of course, a response to the use of these weapons, and this is so far what it has been. The Guardian, sort of with the quote from, I think, Lavrov, that's reported him saying this. He said, without the Americans, it's impossible to use all these high-tech missiles. Putin has spoken about this several times. In September, Russian president had said use of these weapons on targets inside Russia would amount to direct involvement of NATO countries, the US, and European countries in the war in Ukraine. In a slight damping down of rhetoric today around nuclear weapons, Lavrov said that Russia is now strictly committed to a position of avoiding nuclear war, and that the Weapons Act, of course, is a deterrent. He suggested that noting in the update of nuclear doctrine published by Russia today does differ from anything in US doctrinal documents, which also now includes broad terms such as permitting the US use of nuclear weapons to stop potentially overwhelming a conventional enemy forces, to ensure the success of an operation, or to end the war now on favorable terms to the US. So obviously they've upped their rhetoric, but I think it should be reminded you, of course, many, many times. I think it should be reminded many, many times. They haven't caught up on this. Not caught up on this at all. Not caught up on this at all on this. But good evening to Sfax and Daily Blaz, who are joining us for this as well. So good evening to you on this. So I want to talk about something else that's gone on in Poland, because it's interesting what's going on with this this party, the Peace and Justice Party, or the PiS party, that pretty much ruled Poland for a decade. And this was an incredibly right-wing government, probably the forerunner, as a lot of people said. Oh, but Poland's run by this really right-wing government, and yeah, it was true. They were for some time, but Donald Tusk and a lot of other sort of centrist left parties joined together, kicked them out, and now they are paying the price for that. They are paying a huge price for this, to the point where, according to a Politico article, they are potentially going bankrupt. They've also now lost state subsidies, which again I think is quite funny, because if you are, of course, a political party, and I'm not 100% sure of the rules, but I think it's roughly similar. Most other countries have this. If you are a political party and maybe you get X amount of the vote, or you have so many sort of MPs in Parliament, then you get some sort of money from the state. Yeah, they're not having that anymore, and because they lost quite a significant portion of their MPs at the last election, because they submitted some, should we say, dodgy financial records, the Polish election watchdog has turned around and gone, no more state subsidies for you for the next 3 years. So, yeah, again, it's kind of funny watching this sort of right-wing political sort of force completely fall off the edge, hopefully into political oblivion. That would be, I think, the good way to see, quite honestly, for this party to sort of fall into complete and utter political oblivion. I really think that would be brilliant to see that party completely fall off. One coming off. That would be genuinely great to see this party absolutely fall into complete and utter financial ruin. It can't run as a party anymore, has to disband, and it's gone for good. That would be an incredibly good thing to see. Incredibly good thing to see on that. But speaking of, Billy, what's going on with the shipping? I suppose you mean what's going on. Like I say, you're preempting my video that I've put out for tomorrow. Yeah, but this is actually something worth bringing up. Let's see if I can bring up this map. Let me show you. Hopefully we can show you a good map here. Here we are, BBC. So we have this going on at the moment. There were 2 undersea cables. And if you lived on Gotland, I believe, your internet was completely gone when this cable got cut. So your internet cable got completely gone. You could not use your internet. If you lived on Gotland, you had no internet, because that is your internet cable, pretty much. Not only, of course, did the one from Gotland to Lithuania get cut, but from Finland to Germany also got cut. Here you can see the point here where it says cable rupture. So this is also, I think, definitely done by Russia. There's reports coming in that apparently it was a Chinese ship, and the Baltic. I can't remember who it is. I think one of the navies that is apparently closing in on this ship that they suspect doing it. So maybe we'll get some news on that. But it has been like Germany, Sweden, Finland all sort of responded to this. Like they all responded to this like really seriously. Like, our undersea infrastructure has been targeted. And this is a big conversation that's been going on for some time. Like, how do we defend these undersea infrastructure stuff? Not only things like this, but offshore wind farms as well. I've talked before about if we want to build in the North Sea or that massive sort of, wind farm, how do you defend it all? How do you defend it all? You need at that point combined naval patrol efforts by, Royal Navy, Kriegsmarine. You need that constant patrolling in that area to make sure that these are not being targeted, they're not being sabotaged, etc. But yes, apparently, yes, I think it's their entire internet went down, or at least it's back up now, I believe. But for a while, their internet went down. I'm not sure if it mentions it here. Um, so yeah, here it is. Yeah, so Sweden's Gotland Island internet stopped working on Sunday. So on Sunday, they had no internet. They had no internet because of this, and no one's buying it. This was an accident. Pistorius, the German defense minister, said no one believes that these cables are cut accidentally. Sweden and Lithuanian defense ministers said they were deeply concerned about the cable cutting connecting their countries had been cut. They've talked about this being new parts of like Russia's hybrid warfare, which again we've seen all these fires, the attempted assassination of the CEO of Rheinmetall. This undersea infrastructure is incredibly vulnerable. Undefendable? Not really. I mean, as long as you have patrols. I mean, technically anything is undefendable. In the ages of hyperspeed sonic missiles, which again Russia found out today, trying to defend that ammo dump, claiming that they got all those missiles down. But again, explain the massive fire that's there. I do think these are defendable, but it does need international effort, and this goes really back to when these types of things were first laid down. Having these undersea cables, and bear in mind at the outbreak of World War One, there was a big international pushback against Britain tearing up Germany's cable it had connecting it to the US. There was a big international pushback against that. And that actually started a movement to say that these types of international communication infrastructure that were a benefit to like all of mankind, promoting communication, etc. Those should not be those should not be targeted. This type of infrastructure should be sort of defended by all nations, such as we have the international proclamation against pirates. If you fly a pirate flag, then you are flying against all nations, and any nation has a duty to defend any ship that is being sort of pirated. So we'll see what happens from this. We'll see if they actually catch this ship involved. Apparently they are going after them in this ship. Apparently they are targeting this ship. It's apparently a Chinese registered vessel, but again, registrations can obviously change very quickly and easily. There was also an incident as well last week where a Russian oceanography vessel was escorted out of the Irish Sea last week because it could not justify its reason for being there. So yeah, just an innocent oceanography vessel by Russia in the Irish Sea, totally Um, totally just there, guys. We're not doing anything. We're not, mapping the floor of between the you know, seeing where all the cables potentially are that we can try and cut. So we'll see what happens if they do actually catch this ship, or if anything sort of comes from this. Maybe Germany finally gives Ukraine the Tauruses. That would be fantastic. Um, that would be absolutely fantastic if this finally pushes Schultz to go. You know what? Here you go, Ukraine. Here are the Tauruses. Now, of course, I know Schultz is in a bit of a diplomatic or domestic pickle at the moment. With stuff going on in Germany. But I do think this would need to be, I think, highlighted to the German people. Look, you have a country that is systematically attacking you. They've set fires. They've destroyed vital German infrastructure. They've attempted to assassinate one of your biggest CEOs of a company. And yet, some Germans think, oh, Russia's not a threat. We shouldn't poke the bear. They're already poking you, Germany. They're already poking you. I wouldn't take them, take them for the threat that they are. And the fact that all of Europe is now going, yeah, we are going to, defend against this. Because it is obviously a very, very big moment, I think, now. You're seeing that more talk about, having European defense, into not only integration, but autonomy from the US. This was definitely highlighted during the whole Storm Shadow thing. We can't use the Storm Shadow, even though it's a missile developed by a French. It's French, UK, and I think Italian. I think Italy. It may be involved in the Storm Shadow as well. But we couldn't use it because one of the parts just happens to be a guidance system that's made in the US. So Biden said no, we can't. Ukraine can't use Storm Shadow missiles. They can't use the long range capability of the Storm Shadow missiles. That needs to be rectified, heavily rectified, quite frankly. I do think there is very now seriously a whole movement within Europe, sort of recognizing, recognizing that threat. That if you've got Donald Trump in the White House for the next 4 years, you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's going to say. Scary times lie ahead of us. They lie ahead of us, absolutely. It is terrifying. But on some lighter news, I think. Because, oh boy, is this not the biggest karma news ever to happen? Like this seriously has to be. This seriously had to be the biggest karma we've ever. Oh, hang on. Blue Badger, if we actually raised our defenses and responded properly, they would cut this rubbish out by now. Yep. I agree. Yeah, we need to jump before Donald does. Yep. Because we've got no idea what Donald Trump's going to do. Like I say, we live in that world now where Donald Trump said, I can end this war in 24 hours. Yeah, we now live in that timeline. And like I say, 20th of January, we find out, unfortunately, what happens. We find out what that means. We now live in that world where, that's what that means by Donald Trump. And it is terrifying on many ways. Because again, as we said earlier, Olaf Schultz, Putin has reiterated his territorial claims of the full annexation of all these territories, including Crimea, of Ukraine. This means Ukraine losing pretty much a vast majority of its coastline, 20% of its territory, a load of farming land. I don't know exactly what the full sort of metric is. It loses a ton of stuff. And it's also will negatively, massively affect Ukraine for the future as well. It will be really negatively affecting, Ukraine, because which Western investor is now going to invest in Ukraine, knowing that potentially, well, Russia might come back, which we've talked about this, I don't know how many times. One of the big things the Ukraine wants is future security guarantees. If we cannot guarantee Ukraine's security in the future, Russia will do this again. It will come back and it will just claim more territory. So that is, again, the worrying thing. And it's something the Ukrainians have been saying for a while. Like, we want future security guarantees. And I think that is something all of Europe should be looking at. Maybe we go, I don't know, maybe we do this old school style and just say, well, if America isn't going to want to join in on this, then we're going to say, okay, if Russia attacks Ukraine, then you have to fight all of Europe. Maybe we European NATO this thing. That maybe that's the security guarantee we give to Russia. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they want. Back in the USSR, it's what Putin has stated many, many times. If you look at the USSR, the Soviet Union, they relied on Ukraine economically for a ton of things. They relied on Ukraine. And still Putin has talked about this, about losing Ukraine. He did this whole weird rambly speech, the Tucker Carlson speech, where he talked about history and like how, all of Ukraine is actually really Russia's. He's going to come back. If he succeeds, he will rebuild and he will come back. Blue Badger 88. I wonder what would happen, of course, if a leader of foreign minister, for example, came out suggesting that Putin shows signs of dementia, such as acting is like it's all past, still an act, etc. Who knows? Yeah. Outside the big red button, I'm not sure what Russia would need to do before some people actually realize they don't need provoking. Does ITV need to do a drama post office like on them for it to become very clear? Who knows? Maybe get Alan, what is it? Mr. Bates versus the post office. Whoever made that, whoever wrote that, get them on it. And of course, I think yes, facts. I'm afraid people only realize when it's too late. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right in this case. I think a lot of people still don't realize this. I think you're seeing this in Germany. There is still very, very much this. Most of it seems to be coming from Eastern Germany. Bear in mind, from at least what I can see, you've got Sarah Velconnect or whatever her name is, the ADF, although they're more southern Germany, I think Bavaria area. I think that's where their sort of strong area is. But they are sort of still pushing this message of, oh, don't poke Russia, don't poke Russia, because if you do, it'll be bad. But what were the Ukrainians meant to do? Just roll over? And we talked about it very recently. We did that video, that response. I can't remember the guy's name now. That Chris, what's his name, who did a response. They basically said, "Oh yeah, Ukraine should give up its land for peace." Well, okay, what land should it give up, and what exactly for peace does that mean? Remember, we've had Minsk 1 and Minsk 2, both of which Russia did not, acknowledge. They did not follow. If there is a peace agreement, what's to guarantee Russia follows that peace agreement? Yeah. Let's say we get a Minsk 3. What's to stop Russia breaking it this time? Because they broke Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. Yeah, exactly. Another point. Yeah. Also, don't forget the Kremlin's demand before the invasion: kick out the members who joined before the 2000. That was all the former Warsaw Pact nations, so on. That would mean the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Oh boy, you can bet Putin would go after those because he was a KGB agent. He was a Secret Service agent, and I believe he was based in Riga. At least I think it was Riga, or he was based in one of them. I can't remember which one it was now, but he was based in one of them. So yeah, it's very, very weird that people don't think that he's not going to go after all these other places, because he absolutely would do. And the biggest thing would be if he tested the NATO alliance. He crossed the border and maybe took a border town. Entirely feasible for him to do. People have talked about this. He tests the NATO alliance. Because remember, it only takes one time to break this type of alliance. And that's it. Gone. So it's it is worrying. We are entering into, I think, a lot more dangerous world, and the fact that Donald Trump's there in the White House makes the world a little bit more dangerous. It makes the world a little bit more dangerous on here. He was based in East Germany, Dresden, if I remember correctly. Again, I'm not sure. I'm sure it was one of the Baltic states he was mentioning, because I think that was because I'm sure he was involved in the ring that was made back in the 90s, where they did this big protest where everyone went and held hands, like joining all their nation in like a huge ring. I can't remember what the protest was called now, but it was a big thing at the time. So I think he was involved in something in trying to sort of break that up, but he failed in that. So yeah, and it's where next. That's the worrying thing. Where next? I think highly likely it could be Georgia. You are seeing. Oh, this is it. Tiffin, yeah, Chinese freighter getting boxed in by Danish Navy. Yeah, that's the ship that they suspect of doing it. Like I say, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this. But I think he's going to going to Georgia next. If you've seen in Tbilisi, there is now an increasing, protests, increasing level of protests, and the government are cracking down heavily, on the protesters. How long before he goes, yeah, can I have some Russian troops to help put this down? There's not many. There are a few across the border. Putin could see if they have got in. Apparently, have 3 frigates on it. Yeah, like I say, I think they're taking this very seriously, because I agree with the defense ministers that just does not happen by accident. This is one of the very busiest shipping lanes in the world. All ships would know where those cables are. They would know when not to drop their anchor. Yeah, I don't think I don't think that was an accident. I think it was done on purpose. Yeah, again, it's facts. Another good point. Kazakhstan. Yeah. And remember, Putin was incredibly annoyed after that, because he had helped supply troops to prop up the Kazakhstan government, and they did not reciprocate. They did not join in on that. So yeah, I can say the world is probably going to become a lot more dangerous, and unfortunately, I feel a lot more unstable because of Donald Trump. It's inevitable. Donald Trump is an absolute wild card. Um, he's appointing some very, very untrained, untested, psychotic people. And like I say, Tulsi Gabbard, that is incredibly worrying. That is incredibly worrying that you would give someone who is incredibly pro-Russia the most important role when it comes to like Western intelligence, pretty much being the king. You know, if you are getting that position, you are sort of like the king of intelligence, and you are responsible for that. So that's incredibly worrying. Incredibly worrying for that. But I do want to leave you on at least a more brighter note. I know on Geoscope we always say we leave you a bit depressed, so I did specifically go searching for a better news story today, and I couldn't think of a nicer one, other than of course what happened to Alex Jones. Oh, the karma, the karma. Might not. I should get myself an island like Graham. Well, you tell me which reality TV show I can win an island on, because that's how we got it. But no, if you've seen Graham's updates, he's currently fighting global warming. He's out there trying to sort of help the island sort of regreen it. So I think that's very good what he's doing out there. Like I say, if you follow him on Politics Social, you'll be able to see the updates. And he's had a very good update recently as well. The seawall has worked that they've been building. So, good on Graham. For getting that done. And of course, I can't remember the guy who else he has there on that. Yeah. The onion that made Alex Jones cry. It is so funny that the Onion bought this. I'm gonna have to. I've got to show you. I've got to show you the statement they made. Let me try and find this. I'm gonna try and find it because they did an amazing statement. Gotta be somewhere. If not, I'm gonna find it somewhere because it's a fantastic statement. Hang on. Onion. Yeah, here it is. Here's why I decided to buy InfoWars. I have to show you this. I have to show you this. I have to show you this on this. So yeah, here's why I decided to buy InfoWars. Today we celebrate the new addition of the to the global tetrahedron LLC family of brands, and let me say, I do really see it as a family. Much like family members, our brands are abstract nodes of wealth, interchangeable assets for their patriarch to absorb and discard according to the opaque whims of the market. And just like family members, our brands are regarded one another with mutual suspicion and malice. All told, the decision to acquire InfoWars was an easy one for the global tetrahedron executive board. Founded in 1999 on the heels of the Satanic Panic, the growing and, of course, steadily ever since, InfoWars has now distinguished itself as now an invaluable tool for brainwashing and controlling the masses. With a shrewd mix of delusional paranoia and dubious anti-aging nutrient hacks, they have survived by both making life both scarier and longer for everyone. A very commendable goal. They are a true unicorn, capable of simultaneously inspiring the public support for billionaires while stoking outrage at an inept federal state that can assassinate JFK but can't even put a man on the moon. Through it all, InfoWars has now shown an unwavering commitment to manufacturing anger and radicalizing the most vulnerable members of society, values that resonate deeply with all of us at Global Tetrahedron. No price would, of course, be too high for such a cornucopia of malleable assets and minds. And yet, in a stroke of good fortune, a formidable special interest group has now outwitted the hapless owner of InfoWars, a forgettable man with an already forgotten name. To force him to, of course, sell it at a steep bargain, less than $1 trillion. Make no mistake, this is a coup for our company and a well-deserved victory for multinational elites the world over. I so love it on this. I so love it that they've written this. It's just chef's kiss. So what's next for InfoWars does remain a live issue. The excess funds initially allocated for the purchase will be reinvested into our philanthropic efforts that include, of course, business school scholarships for promising cult leaders, a charity that donates elections to at-risk third world dictators, and of course a new pro bono program pairing orphans with stable factory jobs at no cost to the factories. As for the vitamins and supplements, we are now halting their sale immediately. Unitarian logic dictates that if we can extend even one CEO's life by just 10 minutes, diluting the miracle elixirs for public consumption is now a complete unethical waste. Instead, of course, we plan to collect the entire stock of the InfoWars warehouse into a large vat and boil down its contents into a single candy bar-sized omnivitamin that one executive, I will not name names, may eat in order to increase his power and perhaps become immortal. All because revealed in due time. For now, let's enjoy the win and toast the continued consolidation of power and capital. Infinite growth forever. Yeah, good on the Onion for doing this. Good on the Onion for doing this. It is absolutely hilarious. Jones is, of course, apparently he's tried to intercede on this. Musk is apparently somehow getting involved as well. Apparently he might be funding Jones's attempt to stop this. Which, wow. Again, if the Onion wins and they succeed, then yeah, they've just made Elon Musk just a little bit more poorer. And of course, it would be the ultimate twist and irony if the Onion, a satirical website, took over InfoWars, a place known for conspiracy and paranoia, and turned it into an actual, proper, professional news functioning website. What if that became it? Like, what if that's what happened to it? Like InfoWars in I don't know, 2-3 years time became known as a place where you could go for actual news and factual news as well. What a turnaround. What an absolute turnaround that would be. That would be, don't get me wrong, Alex Jones losing InfoWars, fantastic already. He's not going to be gone, but he can't trade under the InfoWars brand anymore. He can't use InfoWars branding anymore. So that's gone from him forever. Though if he does lose it. So yeah, we'll see. But oh boy, I really do hope he loses this because him losing this would be fantastic. Yeah, well, that's a good point, Smax. Yeah. Space Karen and Control will control the FTC. I don't know. Has he made an appointment for the FTC yet? Hang on. Has he actually picked anyone? Oh, hang on. Yeah. Project 2025 co-author, apparently. Let me just try and find his name. Oh no, that's mostly about his family. It doesn't say who he has. What's weird? Why did it say that? Yeah, because it says Trump picks Project 25 co-author to lead the FCC. If it is, it's here we are. This has been 1 day ago. So we know Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We know Matt Gaetz, of course, Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard. Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. Okay. Kirsty Norms, Department of Home Security. Elon Musk leading Doge. A non cabinet position. So Elon Musk, even though he'll be leading this Department of Government Efficiency, will have no power, which will be good, along with, of course, Vivek. So I'm sure their reports that they're going to release over the next couple of years are going to be very, very fun. Very, very fun. That's to say. Yeah. Do you really believe they'll make a single competent pick? Oh, of course not. Of course they were never going to be. Yeah. All these, it's not that these picks are just bad or awful. These picks are just outright insane. I mean, did you can see the video of where Matt Gaetz gets called, gets the nomination, and there is an audible gasp in the chamber. There is an actual audible gasp in the chamber, and these confirmation hearings are going to be wild. These confirmation hearings are going to be absolutely wild. The JFK one going to be insane. The Matt Gaetz one, apparently there's some stuff come out about that today. Apparently a hacker has got a hold of the evidence given to the ethics committee. That will be insane when that starts coming out. Who else we got? Pete Hegseth as to serve as Secretary of Defense, but he's been an anchor at Fox News for 8 years. And he's an Army veteran, but I really don't believe this guy is probably going to be a good pick for Secretary of Defense. I don't believe at all he's going to be a very good pick on this. John Radcliffe is the appointed to the head of the Central Intelligence Agency. William Joseph McGinley, he's been appointed to White House consul, which involves advising the president on judicial appointments. Steve Witkoff, who is the Middle East special envoy to the Middle East. I'm sure I'm sure he has thoughts on the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Oh yeah, Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel. I'm totally sure that he doesn't have some strange quotes about that. Michael Waltz, he's National and Security Advisor. Elise Safank, she is role to the UN ambassador. Jesus Christ, absolutely no no credentials when it comes to international politics and all whatsoever. So it looks like the UN's going to be fun. Lee Zeldin, he's going to be lead the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm sure he's going to protect that agency well. Thomas Holman, he is going to serve as the administration's border czar. Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles is set to make historic country as the first female chief of staff as a president. So she's chief of staff. Douglas Collins, that means she's going to be running the day-to-day affairs of the White House. So will she be able to keep Trump in charge? I doubt it, to be honest. Doug Collins, he's Secretary, U.S. Secretary of State for Veteran Affairs. Todd Blanche and Emil Bove, they're Deputy Attorney General at the Department of Justice. Dean John Sawyer, another, of course, lawyer of Trump's, to serve as Solicitor General of the U.S. Gee, defend me, and because I haven't paid you, he is the Secretary General. Totally not off this for a while. Jesus. Doug Berman, Secretary for the Interior. So there goes Alaska, probably, by the way. They're going to start drilling in Alaska. So, so much for any defending the America's beauty on that one. Caroline Levant is going to serve as the National Press Secretary. Oh no, she served. Oh no, yes, she is serving as the White House press secretary. So I've never seen her before, but I'm sure press secretary briefing is going to be amazing. Bear in mind, how many press secretaries did Trump actually go through on this? Ollie, I'm on Blue Sky. I am on Blue Sky. You can find me under Real Bowler Hat Man because Bowler Hat Man was already taken. So I had to do a Donald Trump and call myself Real Bowler Hat Man. Here we are. So Stephen Sheng, he's going to become the White House Communications Director. Chris Wright, where we go? So he's going to be Secretary of Energy. And of course, he runs a fracking company. Gee, I wonder what America's going to do a lot of over the next couple of years. Brendan Carr. This is it. This is the pick to lead to the FCC during his second term. Carr has served the FCC since 2012, including being nominated to 5-year terms as both commissioner by Trump and Biden. He has been confirmed unanimously by the Senate over 3 times. And according to his biography, his work at the FCC is focused on modernizing communications infrastructure, accelerating the construction of high-speed networks across the country. The Trump campaign said that Commissioner Carr is a warrior for free speech. He has fought against the regulatory lawfare that has stifled Americans' freedoms, that have held back our economy. So basically, he's going to potentially deregulate the internet. That's going to cause huge problems if they decide to do that. I should remember all that when who was it? No, it wasn't Vivek. Oh, who was the last guy who was going to pretty much sell off the internet? There was going to be someone who was just going to sell off the internet. I'm pretty sure it happened Trump's first term. But there was at least enough pushback that it didn't happen. Sean Duffy is Secretary for Transportation. And that's it so far. Like I say, I think there's still more to come. But I would not be surprised if you were to look into these people's past that they have some wild and crazy comments about a ton of different things. So, I'm sure that will go perfectly, perfectly well. Oh, hang on a second. There we go. There we go. There, that's fixed it. Yeah, I'm perfectly sure they're going to have, perfectly sane and rational takes. I say sarcastically. Yeah, I'm perfectly sure there's going to be some sane and rational decisions by the Trump administration for the next 4 years. Like I say, a lot of this stuff are really going to screw us over. In fact, actually, there may be once again one slight silver lining, not only for the UK but for Europe as well. Two of big Biden's achievements, right? Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act. These two acts unleashed thousands of subsidies across America that were pulling businesses and manufacturers away from the UK and Europe in quite a significant way, to a point where you had Europe and the EU looking at doing its own type of Inflation Reduction Act. We covered the story about Rishi Sunak trying to keep UK chip manufacturers here in the UK and them turning around and saying, well, that's nice, but in America, I get so much more. Now, here's the thing. Those two things are massive Biden achievements. But here's the thing. Republicans hate them with a passion. So if Donald Trump and the Republicans get rid of these two things, we won't have to worry about all these, subsidies pulling away, European green manufacturing or UK businesses or even businesses in Germany or anything like that anymore, because they're gone. And maybe those businesses that did move will suddenly go, maybe we'll move back. Who knows? Maybe, who knows? Maybe not as quick, but it might stop, or at least maybe think some of the people moving about that. But yeah, it could be a slight silver lining. Do really hate both those acts. We'll see if they move them. We'll see if they remove them, see if they get rid of them. But yeah, would be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So we watch with anticipation and interest to see what could happen here, because could get very interesting very quickly if they decide to remove those, and would be a big boon for the UK and Europe if they do get rid of those. Like I say, two massive Biden achievements, and yet Donald Trump and the Republicans could likely get rid of them, which would actually be to our economic benefit. Even, of course, if they do go and put those tariffs on, which they look like they are probably going to do. 20% tariffs apparently now they're talking about. So it's gone up from 10 to 20. And of course, apparently they want to take on the EU as well. So it does look like the UK is going to get caught in a trade war. As I've said before, political calculations are going to have to be really taken into effect on here by our own government. I had a feeling that our own government really wanted Harris to win, not Trump, and they've been caught on the back foot because of that as well. I think everyone really was. So yeah, that's that. That's Trump's weird picks. And I'm sure we will totally not be talking about some of these insane decision makers in the future. So as always, like I say, thank you very much for watching, guys. Like I say, this was the first SoloScope episode that we did, because like I say, Graham's away for the next couple of months. So yeah, we'll be doing these. We'll be, talking about this type of thing. So until then, we'll see you next time, of course. And until then, we'll see you all very soon. So until then, we'll see you soon. Well, we'll see you then.